I served my father-in-law the meal he calls peasant food. So my father-in-law Richard is one of those men who thinks having money makes him a better person. He owns a couple car dealerships, drives a Range Rover, and never lets anyone forget it. When I married his son Daniel 2 years ago, he told me at the rehearsal dinner, "You're lucky. My son could have done a lot worse." I laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't. My mom raised me on a food we make back home. It's beans, rice, cured pork, whatever greens were cheap that week, cooked down slow for hours. It's the smell of my entire childhood. The first time I made it for Daniel, he ate 3 bowls and asked me to teach him. The first time Richard smelled it, he wrinkled his nose. We were hosting Sunday dinner and I'd spent all morning on it. He walked into my kitchen, lifted the lid off the pot and said, "Daniel said, Dad." Richard just laughed. "What? That's what it is. Poor people food. Nothing wrong with it. I ate plenty growing up. Doesn't mean I want it now." He didn't touch it. He ordered a steak delivered to my house while the rest of us ate. Sat there cutting into filet mignon at my table like it was normal. After that, it became his thing. Every time I cooked, he had a comment. "Making the peasant special again? You know Daniel can afford real restaurants now, right?" Once at a family barbecue, he told my mother-in-law, loud enough for me to hear, "She cooks like her people are still starving." I went to the bathroom and cried and then came back out and smiled because that's what you do. Daniel fought with him about it. It didn't help. Richard would just say, "I'm allowed my preferences in my own family." Then a few months ago, Richard decided to throw himself a big 60th birthday party. 60 guests, rented hall, the works. And because he's cheap underneath all the flash, he didn't want to pay a caterer. He wanted it homemade, but nice. He looked right at me and said, "You cook enough, you can handle it, I'll cover ingredients." Not a please, not a thank you. An assignment. Daniel said we should say no, but I said yes. I said yes so fast Daniel got nervous. I spent 2 weeks planning. I asked Richard's oldest friends what he actually loved. His brother told me something interesting. He said, "You know Richard grew up dirt poor, right? Their mom made this bean and pork stew every single night because it was all they had. He used to beg for it. I made that stew, his mother's exact recipe, which his brother remembered. Big pots of it. Rice, cured pork, the cheap greens, peasant food. I served it in nice bowls with garnish so it looked expensive, and I didn't tell anyone what it was. The party started at 7 p.m. People ate. People went back for seconds. Richard stood up around 8 to give a little speech about how far he'd come, and he was holding a bowl, and he said, "I don't know who made this, but I haven't tasted anything like it since I was a kid." The room clapped. Then he asked, in front of everyone, "Seriously, what is this? It's incredible." I stood up. I said, "It's the stew your mom used to make. I got the recipe from your brother." His face changed. I kept going. "It's beans, rice, cured pork, and greens. It's the peasant food you've been making fun of me for cooking for 2 years." The whole room went quiet. His brother started laughing. Somebody near the back said, "Wait, is that true, Rich?" Richard put his bowl down very slowly. He said, "That's not the same thing." I said, "It's the exact same thing. You just didn't know it was on your own plate." He tried to laugh it off. "Well, you dressed it up nice, I'll give you that." And I said loud enough for the table, "No, Richard. I made it the way I always make it. You've loved it every night this week and never known, because you've spent 2 years too busy sneering to actually taste it." Daniel raised his glass and said, "To peasant food." Half the room raised theirs back. Richard hasn't asked me to cook for anything since, but last Sunday he showed up at our house, stood in my kitchen, and asked if there was any of that stew left.